Praise to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 11, and Text 35. I don't think this is... Sa Isha Naraloke Smin Avati Rana Sva Mayaya Reme Stri Ratna Kutasto Bhagavan Pakwito Yata Sa Aishanara Lokesmin Avatirna Swamayaya Remesri Ratna Kutasto Bhagavan Prakrito Yata Sa Aishanara Lokesmin Avatirna Swamayaya Remestri Ratna Kutasto Bhagavan Prakrito Yata Sa Aishanara Lokesmin Avatirna Swamayaya Remestri Ratna Kutasto Bhagavan Prakrito Yata. Please chant. Ladies, please. Bhagavan prakrito yataha. Synonyms. Saha, excuse me, sorry. He, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eshaha, all these, Naraloke, on this planet of human beings. Asmin, on this, Avatirana, having appeared, Sva, personal, internal, Mayaya, causeless mercy, Reme, enjoyed, Stri Ratna, woman, who is competent to become a wife of the Lord. Kutastha, among, Bhagavan, the personality of behavior, with them, the personality of behavior with them is never to be understood. Excuse me, did we finish the purport or the word by word? Because I don't see any. Did I skip something? And what comes after personality of Godhead? Because I have something. Pardon? Okay. Somebody have the place? Sorry about that. Okay, can you point out the place to me, please? Just put your finger on it. What word am I up to? Huh? Prakriti? Okay, fine. Thank you very much. Yeah, as I may have skipped a page, so I'm sorry about that. Okay. That doesn't help. Did you say Prakriti? Yeah, I want him to show me exactly where it was. I'm not getting anywhere.
He gave you the wrong one, that's why.
That's the wrong page, Pupu. Yeah, okay.
So we're up here at Prakrita Maharaj, right here.
This is page number 35,
yes,
right?
And now
okay.
Here we're here.
Okay. Prakritaha, mundane, yata, as if it were. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. That Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, out of His causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by His internal potency and enjoyed Himself amongst competent women as if He were engaging in mundane activities. Please repeat. That Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, out of His causeless mercy, appeared on this planet by His internal potency and enjoyed himself amongst competent women as if he were engaging in mundane affairs. So we come now to the purpose, but I may have written it all down here. I think I did. Say, the Lord. No, the page missing. Sorry. So let's take it from the book. The Lord married and lived like a householder. This is certainly like a mundane affair. But when we learn that he married 16,108 wives and lived with them separately in each and every palace, certainly it is not mundane. Therefore, the Lord, living as a householder amongst his competent wives, is never mundane, and his behavior with them is never to be understood as mundane sex relation. The women who became the wives of the Lord are certainly not ordinary women, because in, what's the word that comes after in? It's a two, I'm sorry. Because to get the Lord as one's husband is the result of many, many millions of births. Tapasya, or austerity. When the Lord appears on different lokas, or planets, or on this planet of human beings, he displays his transcendental pastimes just to attract the conditioned souls to become his eternal servitors, friends, parents, and lovers, respectively. In the you got it here? If you just want to point it to... Okay. Where am I?
Respectively.
Okay, perfect, fine. Sorry for the inconvenience, but that's my nature. Respectively, in the transcendental world, where the Lord eternally reciprocates such exchanges of service. Service is pervertedly represented in the material world and broken untimely, resulting in sad experience. The illusioned living being conditioned by material nature cannot understand out of ignorance that all our relations here in the mundane world are temporary and full of inebrieties. Such relations cannot help us be happy perpetually. But if the same relation is established with the Lord, then we are transferred to the transcendental world after leaving this material body and become eternally related with him in the relation we desire. The women amongst whom he lived as their husband are not, therefore, women of this mundane world, but are eternally related with him as transcendental wives, a position in which they attained by perfection of devotional service. It's a very important point here. And some ordinary person just picking this up might think that, well, they just lucked out. They got a good deal, was in the right place at the right time. Absolutely not. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with their earnings, their eagerness, their desire, their wanting to serve Krishna with all their heart and soul and love and life. And because they excelled in such an amazing, such a wondrous degree, they achieved a position, a very high position. And here we have 16,108 wives, all in that very glorious, amazing position. So, coming back. what's the first word that I left off on, please? Yes, thank you. That is their competency, which is what I just pretty much mentioned. The Lord is param brahma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Conditioned souls seek after perpetual happiness in all places, not only on this earth, but also on the planets throughout the universe, because constitutionally, a spiritual spark, as he is, can travel to any part of God's creation, assuming that he has those powers to do that. Not like just anybody can die and just go where he wants to. We're all bound by this material energy until we become totally free of the material energy and become a perfect servant of the Supreme Lord. As we know, like Narada Muni, he flies all over the universes. Nothing can stop him. Nothing prevents him. And it's like nothing to him. He doesn't act as if he's done some great deed. It's like we walk on the street. He walks from the planet to planet. So that's what, when you actually have so much, Krishna is eager to give the devotee a lot of power because he knows that devotee will utilize that power in the highest and best and finest way to accomplish his mission. Therefore, he's confident, he's secure, and he doesn't mind giving these kinds of gifts. Whereas other persons who are very proud, very conceited, very vain, such a person may misuse or not utilize the powers properly. A perfect example of good use of high power is Hanuman, who crossed the whole ocean and never thought anything of it. And he did it to try to recover, to find and then recover Lord Ramachandra's glorious wife. But being conditioned by the material modes, he tries to travel in space by spacecraft and so fails to reach his destination. The law of gravitation is binding upon him like the shackles of a prisoner. By other processes, he can reach anywhere, but even if he reaches, but even if he reaches the highest planet, he cannot attain that perpetual happiness for which he is searching life after life. Even if scientists were to reach certain planets, so Pluto and Mars and Venus and all of these, there would be nothing for them. They would all be cheering and jumping and drinking beer and having a great time. Hey, we did it, we did it. We hit it, we hit it. We are now the conquerors of Mars. No one can stop us. But then they begin to think, wait a minute, there are a zillion more planets and stars all out there. And we haven't gotten those yet. So what is their frustration to be then? Tremendous. Because here they are. It was just discovered only, I think, a year or two ago, that in the Milky Way, there are, I believe it was 10 million planets in the Milky Way. Think about that. 10 million. It may be more. So, therefore, even if you capture one or two, you got nothing. It's like going onto the beach and picking up a grain of sand and say, hey, look at my great accomplishment. I made it. I did it. I've got it. Yeah, right. You got it. You got it. And then he dies, and they put that same sand over his body, and that's the end of his life. When he comes to his senses, however, he seeks after Brahman happiness, knowing it for certain that unlimited happiness, which he is seeking, is never attainable in the material world. Unlimited. Limited, yes, but not unlimited. As such, the Supreme Being, Parabrahman, certainly does not seek his happiness anywhere in the material world. It's a pretty filthy world. Why should he? There's better places, cleaner places, more perfumed places, more lovable places, better floral, better ambience or atmosphere. Why here? So this place is nothing. compared to even the plain heavenly planets. Nor can his paraphernalia or happiness be found in the material world. He is not impersonal. Because he is the leader and supreme being amongst innumerable living beings, he cannot be impersonal. He is exactly like us. And he has all the propensities of an individual living being in fullness. He marries exactly like us, except more wives. But his marriage is neither mundane nor limited by our experience in the conditioned state. His wives, therefore, appear like mundane women, but factually they are all transcendental liberated souls, perfect manifestations of internal energy. Omagyana timirandasya gananjana shalakaya chakshmu anmalitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. So we have some very interesting, absorbing, if not wondrous, facts over here. And one of them, which strikes my interest, and I'm sure others, where Srila Prabhupada continues to repeat that these women are not like mundane women. I mean, they look like mundane women only in the sense that they wear the same clothes that they do, maybe the same earrings they do, some of the same what they call ornaments on their face that they do. But that's all external. It has nothing to do with their internal life. These women have actually achieved this position. They earned it. They worked for it. They sacrificed for it. We should understand, again, as I mentioned earlier, they did not luck out. It just didn't happen. They didn't just happen upon it. Oh, look at this. Hey, I found a gold coin. You know, so it's not that. Tulsi Devi, for 10,000 years, she performed penance and austerities just to have Lord Vishnu as her husband. I mean, this is an example of some of these women when they set their minds to it and they focus upon it and they just don't let up until finally they achieve their goals. And Tulsi was just one of those many, many great, great women who considered all other men, and we get a very excellent and interesting example of how Rukmini, how she regards all other men. She said, like, she calls them walking mustaches, stuff like that. And she begins to compare them to Krishna, and she really reduces them to absurdity, like they're nothing compared to Krishna. So why go anywhere else? Why look anywhere else? Why even think of any other man? Of course, he's a hard, how can I say, a hard person to achieve. It's just not easy. You know, you say a few rounds, say 16 rounds, 1 or 2 or 3 days, and I'm all ready, Lord. Come and take me. It's not that kind of thing. If it were that easy, the Lord would not have 16,000. He would be having an infinite number of wives. But it's interesting in that regard. Some Christian person, he came over to me and he said, I was reading your Krishna book and I saw that your Krishna, he got 16,108 wives. Isn't that a little bit lusty for the Lord, for God? Does he really need so many wives like that? He's talking like that, like a mundane, fruitive worker. I said, do you know what you're saying? He says, yeah, I know what I'm saying. It's right here. I'll show you. No, you don't have to show me the book. I know it's in the book. So I said, what are you saying? He said that it appears that God is lusty. I said, well, let me ask you a question. Jesus Christ has many nuns as his wives. In fact, every nun of an officially, fully initiated, who has taken all the vows, they all have a wedding band, okay? A wedding band which indicates that they are betrothed to the Supreme Lord, in their mind, Jesus. And how many are there since the last 2,000 years? How many wives does Jesus have for the last 2,000 years? He got way more than Krishna. He got 16,000. Jesus probably has 16 trillion. And he's still going. So when he heard that, he didn't know what to say. Like the words coming out of his mouth. They look to criticize, but really, they don't really think as they should. So that's the first thing. There was another thing I wanted, but it just slipped my mind. So there was another thing. These wives were rescued. Balmasura, he had them in his palace. He had stolen them from kings, and they were concubines. We all know what a concubine is. That's basically it's a woman who simply caters to the sexual needs of usually a royal prince or somebody who's in a higher royalty. In any event, they're not really officially married. I mean, in one sense they are, since nobody else touches them, but in another sense, the king doesn't give, or the prince doesn't give them all the types of gifts that they give their personal wives, just as Vasudeva would give to Devaki. So these were all untouchable women. That's what they called them in those days. It's not like today, where a man or a woman gets married and then they divorce and get another marriage. Some people, some movie stars, they got like 10. They've had 10 different wives and husbands already, and they're working on the next one. They think that it's like chess. You can just put things on the box, and I've conquered this. Okay, finished with this. Now get another one. Get another one. This is madness. This is animalism. This is the worst of worst. And people don't even think that there's anything wrong with this. It's all okay. Variety is the spice of life, isn't it? So why not have 2, 4, 5, 10, 9, 15 wives? What's the difference? The difference is that God doesn't want that, and he said, thou shalt not commit adultery. And any man who divorces his wife, he also says, is considered an adulterer. So if you like to follow God's teachings, and you don't want to be offending him, offending the teachings, then it needs to be considered. That's what was done in the ancient Vedic days. So what happened is that these ladies, they were all what they call soiled, according to the general male public. So no man would marry them. So what would they do? They're all young women, 17, 18, 19, 22, 23. Their life was virtually over. So what did Krishna do? He, in effect, said, I don't care what the world thinks about me. These women have affection for me. They want to be with me. They want to serve me. They want to love me. They want to give me their all. Why shouldn't I rescue them? Why shouldn't I let them escape? Why shouldn't I give them a happy life? Simply because that demon put his hands all over her. Does that disqualify her for having a happy life? I mean, we can see the compassion, the kindness, the understanding, the sweetness, the love that Krishna had for these women. And so, therefore, and that was not just because they had been left, as you might say, soiled, but they also had many spiritual qualities. Krishna gives himself, as he says, as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. Krishna says, surrender unto him only. In that way you will attain knowledge and peace. So what we have is that excuse me. What we have here is that these women were given an opportunity to live a normal life and have children. And Krishna had 10 children and 1 girl with each one of these wives, 16,000. So, I mean, when we think about it, the misery that these ladies would normally be going through in that particular time, that particular age, unlike today, what happens? He gave them a life. He gave them a palace. He gave them friendship. He gave them humor. He gave him also a certain amount of separation. He'd go away for a while, and then like that's what we are here. He had gone away to Hastinapur. He had gone away to assist Arjuna in the battle of Kurukshetra. So he left them, and they were in a state of separation. Now, when a woman loves a man and really loves him intensely, it just makes the heart ache and ache and ache because you want to be with that person. It's not enough to only to have the presence. That's one thing. It's a good thing. You feel joyful. You feel happiness. But still, there is something very beautiful and lovable and adorable and likable about being with a person in person. That's why we get together. And we used to go into Govindas and you see people sitting at the tables because they like to be together. They like to talk. They love to have exchanges. And so this is a very useful, a very normal type of thing. So similarly, these women, they wanted to have the wonderful conversation, wonderful exchanges, wonderful loves with Krishna, and they got that. So therefore, although they may appear to be mundane women, they were not. Did they have sexual lives? Yes, they did. Their 10 male sons and the 1 female. They had regular sexual, but we have to understand the sexuality with the Supreme Lord is on a totally different platform. Prabhupada refers to it as the transcendental platform. Transcendental platform is that the female has only one idea, and that is to give Krishna pleasure in any and every way. His pleasure is foremost, and one's own pleasure is non-most. So that's the whole idea. But they don't have to worry about getting pleasure, and that's because Krishna has their pleasure in mind, just as Krishna has our pleasure in mind. We're all sitting here. The ceiling is not falling down. Okay? The crazies which sometimes come, and they come in here and they make noise or they do something full, they're not here now. Okay? And most of the time, 99.999%, they never come. This is Krishna's security. This is his peace. This is his affection. He wants us to hear these different talks that we hear from day to day so that we can become more and more conscious of him. We can become more and more in control of ourselves so that we can focus our attention on the beautiful deities, Shri Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Shri Rukmini and Dwarkadish, Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Lady Subhadra. And when we express our love to them, we express our feelings towards them, when we give things to them, give them for no other reason because it gives us pleasure to know that they get pleasure when they receive what we offer them in a totally, completely non-attached fashion. Non-attached is yukta vairagya. I offer you this and I expect nothing in return. And you know why? Because the very giving of it to you gets me so much joy, so much peace, so much strength, so much love, so much of everything that I need and then some. So I'm not worried about getting anything. The very fact that Krishna is giving me the opportunity, he's giving me the privilege. Every time we do a little service here, we should understand Krishna is giving us a privilege. It's something great. It's something tremendous. These little flowers here, they're more valuable than gold. How many of us are treating them like gold? Yes, Krishna has tasted, smelled them, he's touched them, he's felt them. Now we are getting that wonderful chance to touch them and feel them, smell them. It's not something just like off the dirt of the floor. Krishna is being kind, like I was saying, to all these ladies. He's being kind to all these women. And he's being kind to us in so many millions and miraculous ways, which we can hardly even begin to count. But they're there. Even a little flower on the floor, pick it up. Thank you, Lord, for giving me a chance to do a little service. It's small, but it's not small. If it's done with love, if it's done with devotion, if it's done with complete surrender, if it's done in that way, Krishna thinks of it as gigantic. It's bigger than the Himalayas if it's done with love and devotion. This is what Krishna says. To those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack, preserve what they have. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give them the privilege, the chance to be with me. So as Krishna is saying, those who always worship, those who always with love and devotion offer me fruits, water, flowers, those who do that, I accept it. What does that mean when he says I accept it? He means that I am accepting your service. That's so wonderful to know that Krishna is accepting our service. We are doing so many services here, and are we all taking them for granted and saying, well, I'm so great, I'm so wonderful, I'm so good, I'm so high, I'm so wonderful. Well, of course Krishna has to take my service because I'm one of the greatest devotees in the world. No, nobody speaks like that, but it's a mentality. So when a devotee takes it for granted that he deserves it, he should have it, it must come to him, this is a sure plan for a quick fall down. Fall down comes when we become too proud, too arrogant, full of vainglory, full of conceit. All those things cause us to fall down. And anyone who has been anybody in this ISKCON and who has fallen down, I can guarantee you, due to that one quality, which the same quality that Lord Indra manifested to Krishna in bringing down, the rains, and which caused him to raise Govardhan Hill. What was that pride? It was, what was the quality? It was pride. And Krishna said, Indra, you've got to watch out, because your pride is destroying you. You think you're better than me. You think you're bigger than me. You think you're higher than me. You think you're greater than me. And yet you're just nobody, because I'm the one who put you there, and I can take you right out. And Indra shook his head. He called his little Sarabi cow. He says, please come. So this is later after the rain. So the Sarabi came, and he milked the cow and did an abhishek on Krishna. And then he also had Indra, who had committed the offenses. He had his elephant, how do you say? Arabiki, yeah. So what he did, he had a whole trunk full of Ganges water. So after the milk was poured on Krishna's body, the next thing is that the elephant took his trunk and he washed them off. So Indra was trying to show in his own way, and he does apologize. That's another thing. And that's what Krishna indicates, that he was not a demon. He was doing a demoniac activity by trying to drown all the residents of Vrindavan, but he was not a demon, though. But he could correct these things because he recognized, and that's very important for all of us, to recognize that we have faults. And that it's not so bad to have a fault, but it is terrible to not admit it and to not apologize for it. There are many people I know who will never apologize because they feel they're above that. They don't need to apologize. I'm too good. I'll just treat the person nicely. Without even making an attempt with a teeth in it to give something back as a result of the harm, the hurt, the pain, the suffering that we gave. So when you come back and you say, I'm really sorry for what I did, but here I just got this incredible Maha sweet from Govinda's. Would you be so kind enough as to accept this cheesecake? I tasted it with my own mouth. It's really wonderful, and I'm so sorry that I did what I did to you. I promise to make a gallant effort to not offend you anymore. This is very, very sweet, and Krishna likes that too, because it shows that the pride is being squelched, it's being stamped on, it's being stomped on, and it will disappear. And Krishna will help to make it disappear. When Krishna makes it disappear, we become free of pride, which is one of the worst qualities, because from pride comes so many bad qualities, anger and lust and greed and envy. And from humility, the very opposite comes: kindness, sweetness, generosity, surrender, submission. So we need to be working on, we don't have to really work on it. The working on it is, please, Lord, I beg for your mercy. I'm so full of arrogance, so full of conceit. I'm so full of condescension. I think I'm better than everybody. I don't say that, but I know I feel it, and you know that I feel it. Get me free of all that. How can I ever love you purely and sweetly and lovingly? How can that ever come? It cannot come unless you help me get rid of all those obstacles. And I'm begging, please, 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 get rid of my pride, get rid of my arrogance, get rid of my condescension, get rid of my loftiness, get rid of all that so that I can truly say, I love you and really mean it, and not mean it that you've got to give me something back, you've got to applaud me, you've got to look up to me, you've got to pat me on the back, you've got to give me gifts. No, I don't need any of those things, but I do want your guidance, your direction, and the strength that you can give me in order to become that which I'm asking for. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. We can first get the microphone. And sorry to hold you up.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful class. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he was saying that the wives of the Lord, they are not ordinary women.
Ordinary what?
They are not ordinary women.
Women.
So I'm just wondering, what about the situation, what about Kupja?
What about what?
What about Lady Kupja, whom Lord Krishna met in Mathura?
Okay, to get the question, he's asking, he said that all of the wives of Krishna, they're not ordinary women, and then he also then contrasted that with Kubja. Kubja, you all know what Kubja, she was a hunchback, basically, right. And she met, the right person?
Yes.
Yeah, and she met him in Mathura,
yeah.
Krishna, and then what happened is that she was a hunchback, and she took some of sandal paste and she rubbed it on his back and Balaram's back, and they both were just ecstatic. They loved it, and he wanted to do something nice for her. So what did he do? He stepped on her toes, but he took her, I think he took her by the ears and yanked her up so that the bend in her back completely straightened out. And straightening out, she became like not just a normal woman, but an extremely beautiful woman. So now Kubja, what he did, although she basically was a prostitute, Krishna never looked down at her for that, because she had given him a very nice service in massaging his back. Same with Balaram. And although she had lustful desires and she wanted him to come home for strictly lusty purpose, but here's the rub and here's the main point. By just having Krishna's association, and she and Uddhava, they came over to her house and they had all these nude pictures all over the world. Krishna was not affected by any of that, but he affected her. And the way he affected her is he transformed her lowly desire into a higher desire. One, simply to follow up, to continue what she had done in the street, namely to massage his back with the sandalwood paste. That's pure, that's clean, there's nothing lustful or anything like that. She became a perfect woman as a result. So that's, in answer to your question, she became pure. And that's the nature of Krishna. If you stay with him, you would have even the slightest admiration. She had plenty for him. You become purified, and you become a pure devotee, and you go back home, back to Godhead.
So in other words, even an ordinary woman can get the mercy of the Lord, huh?
Absolutely. That's what this Hare Krishna mantra is all about. Ordinary people chanting the name, chanting with their whole heart, chanting with their everything, begging the Lord for help. What happens? Transformation. And even those who may have led a very low or very sinful, very even bad life, nonetheless, what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? Even if one commits the most abominable action, if he's engaged in devotional service, he's considered properly situated in his determination. So, therefore, anyone and everyone, if they're sincere, if they're serious, if they're submissive, if they're surrendered, if they're thankful, if they're grateful to the Lord, so much mercy will be unloaded. And we see it especially in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who traveled down and he was going from one person to another by the thousands, and giving him a hug and chanting Hare Krishna. And what happened? Those people who got the hug and the Hare Krishna, they couldn't stop chanting it. And so they would chant to their wives, to their friends, to their children. All of these people got the holy name. And when they got that holy name, they couldn't stop. And that's how it got spread throughout South India. I mean, Lord Chaitanya had to do things real fast. He did it there as never before. He said even when he was in Bengal, he never did that, never turned on that particular switch of a person not being able to stop chanting. That was a very special mercy. You can read that. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
I hope.
Thank you very much.
Is anyone else of us? You got something to add? No? Thank you so much for your kind listening. Anyone else? Okay, where? Somebody? Yes, Mataji, please. Please bring the mic for her.
Thank you, Maharaj. My question is, so it said in the purport that the queens did many, many austerities. So is it by a special concession of Lord Chaitanya that we can get the same result in one lifetime, or do we still have to do the work?
Yeah, that's a good question. And actually, Srila Prabhupada says, yes, one result. In fact, he goes to the point of saying even 1 minute, if the attitude is right. The intensity of our submission and surrender and complete appreciation can be so great with literally avalanches of tears are running down your face and you're almost dying out of complete sorrow and ecstasy combined. It can happen then. There's a thing called Kripa Siddhi. Kripa Siddhi means when Krishna gives you that high position that you just mentioned out of compassion. Whereas the sadhana siddhi, you have to go through all the practices and so forth. But if a person has such compassion himself, such love, and Krishna sees that, he can grant that person the opportunity or the chance to go back home, back to Godhead. Sometimes even immediately. Look at Ajamil. He went back, although he committed the most horrible for 88 years. But Krishna never forgot his sweet treatment that he gave him when he was a young Brahmin. Never forgetting that, he made sure that he got the kind of training or teaching in Hardwa which would enable him to go back home, back to Godhead. And yes, those men that he had met earlier from the spiritual world, they were there to take him up, and he went and left this horrible life that he had lived and now lived a most gracious life. So there's your answer to your question. There's the example too.
Yeah.
Okay? Thank you. I guess we want to, I don't want to keep anyone. Does anyone have any quick correction on whatever I've said? I may have said something wrong. I'm willing to change. Huh? About what? Oh, about the... You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Who is perfect? We love you notwithstanding. Okay, so forget about it. No, thank you for being such a